A bitter custody battle between a wealthy, arrogant father and a struggling mother. Everything seemed to be going his way. But in the tense courtroom, arrogance can become a weapon against yourself. What happens next? You'll find out in the full story. So stay tuned. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. And if you believe in a mother's unwavering love and the power of truth, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The air in Judge Thompson's courtroom hung, heavy, thick with unspoken tension. It was day 3 of the Carter versus Carter custody hearing, and for Sarah Carter, sitting stiffly on the plaintiff's side, it felt like a lifetime. Across the aisle, Daniel's father, Robert Carter Sr., sat with an almost regal bearing, his expensive suit impeccable, his gaze unwavering, a picture of controlled confidence. Beside him, his high-powered attorney, Ms. Davenport, adjusted, her glasses, a shark-like glint in her eye. Sarah swallowed, trying to ignore the tremor in her hands. She glanced at her own lawyer, a kind, earnest woman named Ms. Evans, who gave her a small, encouraging nod. Encouragement was exactly what Sarah needed right now. Everything felt stacked against her. Robert Carter Sr. was a man of considerable wealth and influence in their small town. When Daniel had tragically passed away 6 months ago, leaving Sarah a widow and their 5-year-old daughter, Lily, motherless, at least in name, Robert Carter Sr. had wasted no time in launching a full-scale legal assault to gain custody of Lily. His argument? Sarah was unstable, emotionally fragile, and lacked the financial resources to provide Lily with the lifestyle she deserved. Ms. Davenport had painted Sarah as a grieving, almost hysterical woman, clinging to the memory of her son but incapable of responsible parenting. They highlighted her modest income as a bookstore assistant, contrasting it sharply with the Carter family's sprawling estate and generations of financial security. They even brought up, with a thinly veiled sneer, the fact that Sarah had sought grief counseling after Daniel's death, subtly twisting it into evidence of mental instability. Sarah's heart clenched every time she heard their accusations. Unstable? Fragile? All she was doing was trying to survive, trying to navigate the gaping hole Daniel's absence had left in their lives, all while fiercely protecting Lily's happiness. Grief counseling had been a lifeline, not a weakness. And yes, she didn't have a mansion, but she had something far more important: a home filled with love, memories, and unwavering dedication to her daughter. Ms. Davenport, with her practiced courtroom demeanor, was currently cross-examining Sarah, her voice smooth yet sharp, like a well-honed blade. "Ms. Carter," she began, her tone laced with professional sympathy that felt utterly insincere. "You've testified that you are fully capable of providing a stable and nurturing environment for Lily. Is that correct?" "Yes," Sarah replied, her voice firm despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. "Absolutely. Yet, Ms. Davenport continued, pausing for dramatic effect as she walked slowly toward Sarah, "isn't it true that you currently reside in a small, rented apartment? Just 2 bedrooms, is it?" Sarah hesitated for a fraction of a second. "Yes, but it's home. Lily is happy there." "Happy?" Ms. Davenport echoed, a hint of skepticism in her voice. "And how would you describe the neighborhood, Ms. Carter? Is it, shall we say, upscale?" Sarah's cheeks flushed. "It's a normal neighborhood. It's safe. There's a park nearby. Lily plays with the other children there. Ms." Davenport allowed a small, dismissive smile to play on her lips. "Normal. Safe. But hardly the environment Lily was accustomed to when her father was alive, wouldn't you agree? The Carter estate, with its sprawling gardens, private pool, and staff, that's a rather significant difference, wouldn't you say?" Sarah struggled to keep her voice even. "Lily's happiness isn't about swimming pools and big houses. It's about love, security, and being with her mother. Things that aren't bought with money." "Of course, Ms. Carter, of course." Ms. Davenport's tone dripped with condescension. "Love is commendable. But the court must also consider practicalities, financial stability, educational opportunities, access to the best resources. She waved a hand vaguely. These are hardly trivial matters when we consider a child's future, wouldn't you agree? Sarah clenched her fists tighter. I can provide for Lily. I work hard. I make sure she has everything she needs. Maybe not, maybe not in the same lavish way as Mr. Carter, but her voice wavered for a moment. But Lily has everything she truly needs with me. Ms. Davenport pressed on, relentless. Let's talk about your income, Ms. Carter. Your tax returns show a rather modest sum. Barely enough to cover basic living expenses, wouldn't you say? How can you possibly hope to provide for Lily's future on such a limited income? College funds, extracurricular activities, even just everyday needs as she grows older? Sarah felt a wave of humiliation wash over her. It was true, she wasn't wealthy. She worked hard, but bookstore assistant salaries weren't exactly generous. She had always managed, carefully budgeting, making sacrifices. But facing Ms. Davenport's cold, clinical dissection of her finances in the sterile courtroom felt like being stripped bare, her inadequacies exposed for all to see. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, and she blinked rapidly, fighting to maintain composure. She couldn't let them see her break. Not here. Not now. For Lily. I will manage, she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. I always have. I will work harder. I will make it work. For Lily. Ms. Davenport leaned closer, her voice softening, but with an underlying steel that was even more menacing. Ms. Carter, be realistic. Wouldn't it be kinder even to acknowledge that Lily's best chance at a truly privileged and secure future lies with her grandfather? A man who can offer her opportunities you simply cannot? Sarah's breath hitched. Lily doesn't need privilege. She needs her mother. She needs me. We are a family. We were a family with Daniel, and we still are, even without him. Her voice rose with emotion, a crack in her carefully constructed facade. Ms. Davenport seized on it immediately. See, Your Honor, she said, turning to Judge Thompson with a smug smile. Emotional instability. This is precisely what we are concerned about. Ms. Carter's highly emotional state suggests she is not equipped to provide the calm, stable environment a child needs, especially after experiencing such a loss. Sarah's chest tightened. She felt like she was drowning, the courtroom spinning around her, Ms. Davenport's words echoing like hammers' blows. She wanted to scream, to lash out, to explain the depth of her love for Lily, the strength of her resolve. But words seemed to fail her, trapped in her throat, choked by the weight of the accusations. Judge Thompson, who had been watching the exchange with a neutral expression, turned to Ms. Evans, Sarah's lawyer. Ms. Evans, do you have any redirect? Ms. Evans rose, her demeanor calm and professional, a stark contrast to Ms. Davenport's theatricality. Yes, Your Honor, briefly. She approached Sarah with a gentle hand on her arm. Ms. Carter, I understand this is difficult, but can you tell the court, in your own words, what Lily means to you? Sarah took a deep breath, trying to gather herself. She looked at Ms. Evans, then around the courtroom, her gaze finally settling on Lily's empty chair at the back of the room. Lily was with a court-appointed child psychologist to assess her well-being, a process Sarah resented but had to endure. Thinking of Lily gave her strength. Lily, she began, her voice trembling slightly at first, then gaining strength. Lily is my world. She is everything to me. Since Daniel passed away, she is the reason I get up every morning. She is my sunshine, even on the darkest days. I love her more than words can say. I would do anything to protect her, to make her happy, to give her a good life. She paused, tears now freely flowing down her cheeks, but her voice remained steady. Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter has money. He has resources. But I have Lily's heart, and she has mine. We are bound together by love. That's, that's worth more than all the money in the world. That's what a child truly needs. Not, not a fancy lifestyle, but love. Unconditional love. Silence fell in the courtroom, broken only by Sarah's quiet sobs. Ms. Evans placed a comforting hand on her shoulder and then turned back to the judge. "No further questions, Your Honor." Ms. Davenport rose again, her smile confident. "Your Honor, while we appreciate Ms. Carter's emotional declaration, sentiment alone is not grounds for custody. We have demonstrated her financial instability, her emotional vulnerabilities. Mr. Carter, on the other hand, offers a rock-solid foundation, both emotionally and financially. We believe the evidence clearly demonstrates that it is in Lily's best interest to be placed in his care." Robert Carter Sr. nodded slightly, a barely perceptible gesture of satisfaction. He leaned back in his chair, appearing almost bored, the picture of a man who believed victory was already assured. It was at that precise moment, in the charged silence of the courtroom, that something completely unexpected happened. Robert Carter Sr., completely unprompted, unasked, and seemingly unable to restrain himself, leaned towards his attorney, Ms. Davenport, and spoke, his voice loud enough to carry across the hushed courtroom. "Honestly, Susan," he said, his tone dismissive, bordering on irritated. "Let's just wrap this up. I'm tired of this whole drama. It's been going on for far too long. The sooner we get Lily away from her and done with all this emotional nonsense, the better." The courtroom seemed to freeze. Every eye turned to Robert Carter Sr., who suddenly seemed to realize the impact of his words, his confident demeanor faltering for the first time. Judge Thompson, who had maintained a carefully neutral expression throughout the proceedings, straightened up in his chair, his gaze now sharp and focused, fixed on Robert Carter Sr. A heavy silence descended, broken only by the faint hum of the courtroom's ventilation system. You could practically hear the cogs turning in everyone's minds as they processed what Robert Carter Sr. had just said. Ms. Evans, Sarah's lawyer, was the first to break the silence, rising slowly, her eyes wide, a stunned expression on her face that quickly morphed into something akin to triumph. "Your Honor," she said, her voice ringing with quiet intensity. Did I just hear Mr. Carter refer to this entire custody hearing regarding his granddaughter as drama and emotional nonsense?" Robert Carter Sr. sat rigid, his face paling slightly under the courtroom lights. Ms. Davenport shot him a furious glance, her earlier confidence evaporating like morning mist. Judge Thompson fixed Robert Carter Sr. with a piercing stare. "Mr. Carter," he said, his voice slow, measured, and laced with an unmistakable undercurrent of steel. "Did you, or did you not, just express that sentiment regarding this custody hearing and your granddaughter's mother's emotional state?" Robert Carter Sr. hesitated, his carefully constructed facade crumbling rapidly. He stammered, "Your Honor, I didn't mean it to sound—" "Answer the question, Mr. Carter," Judge Thompson interrupted, his voice leaving no room for evasion. Defeated, cornered by his own arrogance, Robert Carter Sr. mumbled, his voice barely audible. "Yes, I said something like that." The courtroom erupted in a low murmur, a ripple of disbelief and dawning understanding spreading through the gallery. Judge Thompson turned his attention back to Ms. Evans. "Ms. Evans, you may proceed." Ms. Evans didn't need to proceed in the traditional sense. The entire atmosphere of the courtroom had shifted. Robert Carter Sr.'s accidental confession, his unguarded remark, had laid bare something far more revealing than any carefully crafted argument or legal maneuver. His words had inadvertently exposed his true motivation. It wasn't about Lily's best interests. It wasn't about providing a stable or privileged upbringing. It was about control. It was about getting rid of Sarah. Dismissing her feelings, her grief, her very being, as mere drama and emotional nonsense, he had revealed, in a single, careless sentence, a chilling lack of empathy and a disturbing sense of entitlement. Ms. Evans, however, was a skilled lawyer. She knew how to capitalize on this pivotal moment. "Your Honor," she said, her voice, clear and strong now, "Mr. Carter's candid remarks speak volumes. They illuminate the underlying attitude that has permeated his entire approach to this case. It is not about Lily. It has never been about Lily's well-being. It is about getting rid of drama, as he so eloquently put it." She paused, letting her words sink in. "Your Honor, we have heard much about Ms. Carter's emotional instability. But I submit that the true emotional instability, the real deficiency in empathy and genuine parental concern, has been displayed right here, in this courtroom, by Mr. Robert Carter Sr." She turned to face Robert Carter Sr., her gaze unwavering. "Mr. Carter sought custody not out of love for his granddaughter, not out of concern for her future, but out of a desire for control, to assert his dominance, and to, as he himself admitted, get rid of the person he views as an inconvenience, an emotional nuisance." A collective gasp went through the courtroom. Even Ms. Davenport looked stricken, mortified by her client's disastrously revealing outburst. "Ms. Evans continued, her voice resonating with moral clarity, "This court is tasked with determining what is in the best interests of Lily Carter. And I believe, Your Honor, that the best interests of a child are always served by love, compassion, and genuine emotional connection. Qualities that Ms. Sarah Carter has demonstrated in abundance, and qualities that Mr. Robert Carter Sr., by his own admission, has shown a profound lack of." She turned back to Judge Thompson. "We rest our case, Your Honor." The courtroom was silent once more, but this time it was a different kind of silence. It was a silence filled with shifted perceptions, with dawning realizations. The air no longer felt heavy with tension, but with a palpable sense of change. "Judge." Thompson leaned forward, his expression thoughtful. He looked directly at Robert Carter Sr., then at Sarah, and finally back at Robert Carter Sr. "Mr. Carter," he said, his voice calm but firm, "the court has listened carefully to all the evidence presented. And the court has also taken note of your unsolicited comments today." He paused, his gaze unwavering. "It is the finding of this court that placing Lily Carter in the primary custody of her mother, Sarah Carter, is unequivocally in the best interests of the child." A collective intake of breath swept through the courtroom. Sarah gasped, tears welling up in her eyes again, but this time they were tears of relief, of victory, of profound gratitude. Robert Carter Sr. sat motionless, his face a mask of stunned disbelief. Ms. Davenport put a hand on his arm, her expression grim. The courtroom buzzed with excited whispers and murmurs. Judge Thompson continued, his voice cutting through the rising noise. "The court recognizes Ms. Carter's demonstrated love for her daughter, her unwavering commitment to Lily's well-being, and her capacity to provide a nurturing and stable home environment. While financial resources are a factor, they are not the sole determinant of a child's best interests. Love, emotional stability, and parental devotion are immeasurably more valuable." He turned to Sarah directly, his expression softening slightly. "Ms. Carter," he said, "the court wishes you and Lily all the best." Sarah could only nod, tears streaming down her face, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. Ms. Evans patted her hand reassuringly, a warm smile on her face. As the courtroom slowly began to empty, Sarah sat for a moment, still slightly dazed, the weight of the past 3 days, the past 6 months, lifting off her shoulders like a physical burden. She had won. Against all odds, against wealth and power, against calculated legal strategies and condescending accusations, she had won. And she had won not through cunning or manipulation, but through the simple, unwavering truth of her love for her daughter. And, ironically, thanks to the arrogance of her adversary, who, in his overconfidence, had betrayed himself with a single, carelessly spoken sentence. Later, as Sarah walked out of the courthouse and into the bright afternoon sunshine, she felt a lightness she hadn't experienced in what seemed like forever. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Life without Daniel would always be a part of her reality. But she also knew with absolute certainty that she and Lily would be okay. They had each other, and that was all that truly mattered. Love had prevailed in the courtroom that day, and it would prevail in their lives as well. Wow. What a powerful story, right? Robert Carter Sr.'s arrogance truly backfired in the most unexpected way. It just goes to show you, sometimes the truth will reveal itself even when you least expect it. What did you think of Sarah's courageous fight and Robert Carter Sr.'s downfall? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you were moved by this story of a mother's love and justice prevailing, please give this video a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. For more inspiring stories like this, we really appreciate your support. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a wonderful day, everyone.